This is Greg Troutwine with Maritime Reporter TV. We're here in Hamburg, Germany at the SM 2018, and we're very pleased to be with Birgir Nilsen, the founder and the director of Optimarin. And Birgir, first and foremost, thanks for joining us.
And thank you for having me over here. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Birgir, as the founder of Optimarin, you know perhaps better than any that the road towards ballast water technology on ships has been long and arduous. So just to start off, can you just tell us the Optimarin story?
Sure. So Optimarin, we've been at this ballast water issue for a long time. It was actually conceived by my father, Birgir Nilsen, and he was asked by the Norwegian administration back in the mid-90s if you could treat ballast water on ships. Mm-hmm. And his first reaction was, hell no. But then he came up with an idea that was based on basically solid separation and UV. So they tested that at a facility in Norway in the 97, and they put all that data online because the internet had come around by that time. Mm-hmm. And he instantaneously became famous among maybe the 10 people around the world that cared about ballast water. And it also led to California getting an interest in ballast water through their own regulation that was implemented in 2000. Mm-hmm. So we got 3 installations with Princess Cruises, okay. With ships that were trading mainly in California. Okay. So they were exempt from the mandatory regulation there to do mandatory exchange. Mm-hmm. They actually treated their ballast water already back in 2000, 2001, 2002.
Okay. So looking at the Optimarin solution today, how many installations do you have? What's your order book look like?
We've done about 400 installations, okay. And we have an order book at a close to 200 systems. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So it's 600 systems altogether.
Okay, very good. There has been confusion in the marketplace regarding the technologies on ballast water systems. Can you tell us about the Optimarin solution?
Yeah. So the Optimarin story is basically from the beginning. We have a technology based on, as I said, solid separation and UV, and our core principles has been simple and flexible. Mm-hmm. So keep it as simple as possible, and know that you're going to install this on a ship, a very hostile environment to a lot of different technologies. Mm-hmm. And now we're talking water treatment, which is a new thing for ships in such high volumes. You're used to treating drinking water, but it's very, very, very little mm-hmm. compared to the ballast water. Mm-hmm. So in principle, the thing I would say about Optimarin is it's pipes, it's a filter, and some process equipment that makes the process work. And we have the whole system controlled by our own control system. Mm-hmm. So we have full control of the whole process from it enters our system till it mm-hmm. goes into the ballast tank or exits the boat. Okay. So that's one of the things that I would say is different with Optimarin. It's simple and it's flexible, so you can fit it on, fairly small and limited areas on board the ship.
Very good. Again, I hesitate to continue to use the word confusion, but you, again, can attest that there has been confusion regarding the regulations, particularly in regards to the IMO regulations versus the U.S. Coast Guard regulations. After, what are we now, in year 14, do you still see this confusion regarding IMO and U.S. Coast Guard?
Yeah, there is still a certain confusion out there, and it started with the Coast Guard that came out with their own regulations that are a little bit different than the IMO regulations. In principle, it's the same, mm-hmm. but there's a few distinct differences, and the regulations requires in the U.S. that the organisms that are treated are dead. Okay. While the IMO regulation says that they should be non-viable, meaning that they cannot reproduce themselves, meaning that they die over time. So we have 2 basically different test protocols for how to verify that. Mm. And UV has used a test protocol that is based on die-out, or most probable number, as they call it, and which takes a certain time to do. While the Coast Guard requires that you show that these organisms are dead immediately. And around that, there's been a lot of confusion, especially in our segment for the UV. But we've demonstrated that we actually kill and can prove that the organisms are dead after treatment.
Okay. Okay. Well, as you've pointed out, the Coast Guard, the U.S. Coast Guard, has been kind of a central point on this whole ballast water technology process. And Optimarin was the first one to achieve United States Coast Guard acceptance. I'm sure this was a happy day in the halls of your
Indeed,
company.
yeah.
But can you discuss in detail what it meant to be the first ballast water technology company with U.S. Coast Guard acceptance?
Obviously, the first thing, it gave us a lot of attention in the marketplace. So people that hadn't heard about Optimarin before, they heard, okay, these guys did it first. And when Coast Guard and you, the media, announces a new system, usually we're mentioned first and among those. So it gives us a footprint in that world. It also tells you that, or tells us and the market that we have a system that was designed all the way back for IMO in 2006-07, and it's the same system that is Coast Guard type approved. We never changed it. So it confirms to us that we did something right already back then, and all our customers that had bought the system before 2016, they are now have a U.S. Coast Guard compliance system. So for us, it's meant a lot. It's sort of reaffirmed that we're doing something right.
Yesterday, it was announced that you won a significant U.S. Coast Guard contract for the new offshore patrol cutters. Can you please give us an update on what this contract means and what the scope of it is at this point?
At this point, we've known about it for quite some time, but we were allowed to announce it just recently. And it means that we're going to deliver the nine first OPC vessels that are going to be delivered by Eastern Shipbuilding down in Panama City. And there's an option for more vessels down the line. Okay. It's obviously going to be giving us attention. The U.S. Coast Guard are the ultimate regulator in this, and the fact that we are on a certain amount of their vessels will give us some oomph in the marketplace, I would say.
When you have a discussion with a ship owner regarding the cost to retrofit a system, where does this talk begin?
Often, the owner comes in and asks for the price of the system, and that's sort of the first qualifier. We like to, I would like to go back to the fact that we have a simple and flexible system, and that's through the number of retrofits that we've been doing so far, has proven itself to be valuable for the total cost of the project. So when you do a pre-engineering and design study and prepare for the retrofit in advance, you get a total cost of installation that is very, very competitive. And even we've seen comparisons from ship owners themselves given to us that we are very competitive amongst Korean and Chinese makers when you see the whole system put together. So one of our customers have retrofitted their whole fleet, 22 vessels. They're all around 1,000 cubic to 2,000 cubic meter an hour systems. And all the systems were designed and engineered by Goltons and then retrofitted by shipyards in China. Okay. And the whole cost of that retrofit was in the range of $80,000 to $130,000 per system. Okay. And that's a number far less than the market believes that it is. We've heard numbers like 500,000, $1 million just to install, but reality tells you that it's more in the 100 to 150,000 range, even for relatively large systems.
Okay. So I guess if you had key points of advice to any ship owner who is obviously planning for the installation of this technology on their ships, what would your best advice be?
My best advice would be to go to either your internal department or to an external partner to start planning the installations. So select the system or systems and see how you can install those and design the installation so you can prepare with pipe spools and electrical and those things that you need to have in place so that the actual retrofit goes smooth when you do it in the dry dock.
This is Greg Troutwine with Maritime Reporter TV, and Birgir, we very much thank you for your time.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.